Hey, those are 3-week-old acrylic nails, and in this video I'm going to fill them with the hard gel. I'm going to use 3 carbide bits, gel brush number 6 natural, and bodybuilder cover pink warm by NSI gel. Now let's get started. First step is always filing off the length. I usually start every fill with asking my client, what length do you want? Usually they say let's do the same one we had last time, which is about the same length that the nails grew out. After that, I'm filing off the color and the design on top. So we had some chrome and stamping design with a black background. And before we continue, we need to remove it from all nails. Then, with the same bead, I'm filing the product underneath. So these particular nails of this client, they are slightly growing downwards. So on each fill, I slightly push them up. And the best way to do this is to file underneath. This is not her first infill. We did about 5 or 6, I think, already. So that's why this other side of the nail is pretty smooth. But if this your first time you're doing infill, after your client did extensions, usually there's also something to file. And do not go too deep with this bead as it's pretty wide and we may hurt the skin of the client. So what I'm doing, I just fixing the C-curve, smooth out the surface. Then I take this needle-shaped bead with blue abrasive mark, which means it's coarse, and I file off the natural nail underneath. And this is one of the most important steps of the infill. Some clients, for some reason, desperately do not let file off their natural nails. But honestly, I don't understand why, because if we leave this natural nail right there, what will happen is that all moisture, all water, and everything will get stuck in there. They will look yellow or gray, and what's the worst part is that simply they may start lifting. So I encourage you to file off the natural nail like that all the time, and you will never experience this lifting bubbles in the middle of the nail. So then I clean the dust to make sure I filed off everything and keep working. When choosing needle-shaped bead, make sure it is not actually sharp, even though it's called needle because it looks like a needle. The very edge should not be too sharp. If yours seems too sharp, you can take a coarse file like 80 grit and carefully file it down. It also depends on the nails. If a client's nails are super thin, you may use a red abrasive mark. Now we're done with this cleaning, and next step will be pushing back the cuticle. This time I'm using orange wood stick. So make sure you push it really well because we are going to work on the natural nail and on the cuticle later. So if you will not push it back enough, then you will leave some cuticle on the nail plate, and after applying the product, we will experience product lifting. I usually use electric nail file to do clients' manicures, and it is very popular here in Russia. So I'm going to use flame bit with a red abrasive mark, which means it's fine. And I'm going to clean the cuticles first on one side and then on the other. I'm using forward mode and 18,000 rotations per minute speed, and the goal of this step is to clean the cuticles, but do not touch the nail plate. As you can see, I'm just slightly touching it, but the main pressure of my hand, it always goes into the skin only. I pushed back the cuticle and cleaned the spreading cuticle from the nail plate. As you can see, the cuticle itself is still there. I always do it like that, so I will not hurt the client's skin. But I push it back first, so now I am removing the surface shine from the outgrown part of the natural nail with 180 grit file, and it's much easier because I already cleaned the surrounding skin. With a bead, I pushed back the cuticle, so it's just easier to do this step, and I recommend to use only soft files when doing this. So you see, now I notice there's a little lifting right here, so I take the cone-shaped bit and remove the lifting. This is also a very important part. If you noticed even tiny spots of this white product, which means the product is lifting, it's separated from the natural nail plate, you need immediately to file it off. If you will leave it like that and apply the product on top, what will happen is after a while it will keep spreading and growing larger, and the nail will simply break or fall off. So then I'm filing the rest of the nails. I'm not really filing the nail, I'm just doing a light retouch. I'm filing off the surface shine and removing the lifting, and also filing the sidewalls. The reason I do it now is because I just want to have less work after the product application. So the biggest part of any infill is filing and prepping the nails before the product application. Then we have two options. We can remove the cuticle now, or we can leave it, apply the product, and clean it afterwards at the very end before the color application. And you can do it both ways. I usually look at the client's skin. If it's thin, sensitive, or damaged, I would definitely leave the cuticle before the color application. But if it's normal cuticle, especially if the skin is dry, if there are not any problems, I will do it like that. I will just clean the cuticle while I'm prepping the nail. So I'm using this sphere bead. As you can see, it got red and blue abrasive marks, so it's medium coarse. You need to choose the bead according to the client's cuticles. Some of them are very small, some of them are moisty, some of them are hard to remove. So you really need to pick that according to the cuticle. If you would like to learn more on how to do electric file manicure, I have an online course. I will leave the link down below in the description box so you can learn more about it. So what I do is I slightly file the cuticle first, and then you see it easily removes and falls off. So the best hands for electric file manicure are definitely the ones with the dry skin. For clients with moisture skin or hyperhidrosis, it might be a challenge, but it's still possible. You will probably need to use more sanitizer or the special powder to dry out the cuticle and surrounding skin. And after that, I will slightly buff the cuticle. I'm using the largest size of the sphere bead and red abrasive mark, which means fine, and I'm just slightly buffing the small parts of the skin, not only the cuticle but across the sidewalls and surrounding skin. Now on this step, the most important part is do not touch the nail plate. This bead is designed to work with the skin only. When working on a skin, do not hold the nail bit at one spot for a long time, as we might simply burn the client's skin. Always move back and forth until you clean everything you need. Now everything looks clean, and I'm applying the hydrator only on the natural nail plate part, and then I will apply non-acid primer. Which primer or dehydrator to use really depends on the system you're using. So I'm going to work with NSI gel today, so I'm using their dehydrator as well as the primer. Now when applying primer, do not apply too much and make sure you're not touching the skin. If you accidentally applied a little bit on the product, do not worry, nothing will happen. Now I'm applying a thin layer of gel. This is Bodybuilder Cover Pink Warm by NSI. This is not a base gel, but I am using it as the base gel. I usually do this if there's no specific base gel in the system for a better adhesion. So what I do, I apply a thin layer only on the natural nail part, and then I will cure it in LED lamp for 30 seconds. Every time I do this, I create this adhesion between the product and the natural nail plate and do not have to worry that there will be any lifting or product separation. Then, after curing, I apply a thin layer of the gel almost on the whole nail to get this slippery surface for the next part of the gel I'm going to apply. Then I take the medium-sized bead and work on the cuticle first. When working with hard gel, it is very important do not press too much. It really depends on the consistency of the gel you're working with. I usually prefer the medium one, like the one I'm using. And then, with a very, very light touch, I simply stretch it down. I do not have to stretch it all the way down because I only need to feel the outgrown part of the natural nail. I think it looks good now, so I need to cure it in LED lamp for 1 minute and continue the application on the next nail. After curing the product, I remove the sticky residue and it is time to file. So at this moment, I usually never use electric file because, as you can see, I already filed the shape, the sidewalls. I basically only added product near the cuticle, so there's really not much to file. So I will be slightly filing it with 180 grit file. But there are different types of infill. Sometimes client may go for the infill after 2 months. So in these times, usually they have some broken nails, some product lifting, and there's definitely much work. I have a few videos on my channel about this. I will leave the link so you can check them out too. So this one I called a regular fill. When the client visits you regularly every 3 weeks like she's supposed to, so it's pretty easy and fast to fill. So I'm only filing the cuticle area and the whole surface a little bit. And also these nails were acrylic nails and I'm filling them with a hard gel. And it's totally fine to do this. I do this infills back and forth, acrylic over gel and hard gel over acrylic many times and nothing happens, as both products, acrylic and gel, chemically wise, are the same thing. So do not worry about that. Actually, the same goes to polygel. So if you ever want to fill acrylic nails with polygel, which I also tried by the way, just go for it. Just make sure before you apply new product that the product that is on the nail already, you filed it, so the surface should never be shiny, otherwise they will not adhere. And sometimes there might be such thing as color issue when the colors do not really match. So it is easier when you do fill with the clear or clear pink colors. Usually they look pretty much the same, but as you can see here, I think I found the perfect match of the cover pink color. I used NSI rose blush powder before and now I'm filling it with NSI gel, so they look pretty much similar. By the way, on this nail I used clear one because it was created a little bit differently. So after filing I just slightly buff it, clean the dust and apply the color. This color is Koi by Luxio. And I'm going to apply 2 layers. So when you work with 2 hands, it's pretty easy. You just apply 1 layer while it's curing, you apply it on the next hand. So when working with hard gel, you don't have to wait for the product to cure, you just work back and forth on both hands. The reason we decided to apply the color is even though these colors match each other, I don't think that you can see it on the camera, but in real life there's still a slight difference and you can see this line between the old product acrylic and the new hard gel. So that's why we decided to still cover it with the color and do some design. And this is how it looks like. So if you would like to know how I did this design, which is not a nail sticker by the way, do not forget to subscribe to my channel so you will not miss it in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope it was helpful. If you have any questions regarding fills, just feel free to ask in the comments. I will see you in my next video. Bye bye.